Aloha, all of my wahinis and manahunis of YouTube. Today is a very, very special day. Guess what? I have reached 102 subscribers. And this is time for celebration. Look at all that. Look at all that. Ain't that cool? Oh, man. You know what? I am so ecstatic right now because all my YouTubers, all my, fellow followers, my friends on YouTube, all my fans, I'm just extremely ecstatic about this moment because you guys have brought me to that point. Is the very first point of my initial goal is to get to 1 million subscribers and all that stuff. So I want to keep going with this, so you guys know what to do. You got to keep telling everybody about my channel, and then they be hearing some, letting them know that they can hear some crazy cases about people who vanish in national parks and some everything else. But once again, I just want to thank all my fans out there who got me to that point, and all my friends who helped me out with my subscribing, with my subscribers and everything. So I can definitely guarantee you guys that I will try my best to get some of the most creepiest stories about people who vanished, mysteriously, to the channel. And today, that's what I got for you. I got two actual creepy stories. One that I've already heard of more than once, and one that I just like my first time seeing it was like yesterday, because it was not yesterday but the day before. We had like a tornado watch here in Georgia, and when I got home, all my lights was out. I'm gonna admit to you guys right now that I'm still afraid of the dark, and that's only because of what I have experienced over the years growing up, with seeing ghosts and spirits, hearing weird noises that shouldn't be there, and all that stuff. I don't do the dark. There has to be at least one light on in my house, to where to make me feel comfortable, and it's got to be near me so I can see it. So truthfully, I spent the night at my mom's house, and she's like 3 minutes away from where I live. So during that time, it was early in the morning, and I got a Facebook message from my #1 fan, KimStar66, letting me know that I reached 102 subscribers. It woke me up out of a sound sleep. I was like, what? Oh man, I was all excited and everything. I was just all over the place. And it lets me, it helped me realize that, you guys really enjoy my channel. You enjoy the stories that I read. And my channel is probably the first channel you ever been to where I actually read you word for word what David Paulides put in his books. And from what I understand from his words alone, was the fact that you're only gonna get a certain percentage of the facts if you just listen to him on Coast to Coast AM. The book tells all, gives you all the details, topographical information, the geological and topography, all that stuff. He gives you everything in the book. And there's some cases that he may have where it doesn't have a lot of information, but still, he's like 90% of the book is all nothing but facts. Yeah, and that's what he wants to give everyone, nothing but facts. So that's my goal, to make sure you guys hear exactly what you need to hear. I don't want you to think that I'm the type of person that wants to give you a half a story then ad lib, with something. I've seen certain channels on here where they tell you only half the story, and I'm not saying that they be lying about what they say, but not all information you can get from the internet. Sometimes you have to make sure that you go out there, you interface with the public and all that stuff, and get the information that you need. Get the toxicology reports from these mysterious deaths, and fill out that what do you call that, Freedom of Information Act, the FOIA form, just to get what you can, if you can get it. Now that's probably the hardest part to all this. In certain states or in certain parts of the country, dealing with certain cases, you're not going to get the a FOIA request. Even if you fill it out, they are not going to release anything. And the only reason why is because if it's too weird for them to even try and understand, they don't want to touch it. They don't want nobody else to know about it. You know, they also don't want people to know that they're not skilled enough to figure out what happened to their family member or whatever the case may be. So, enough about that. Without further ado, today's story is going to be about a West Virginia case. And I can tell you, I lived in Virginia before. I lived in Northern Virginia, though. And trust me, yeah, I had a lot of experiences in Virginia, whether it was UFOs or ghosts. I've even been used as a vessel by one. It was a woman named Janice, but I'll get to that later. Yeah, that's a pretty creepy story. This story today is about the Sodder Children. Like I said, this happened on Christmas Eve in 1945. But first, I always like to read this part off here. I mean, I'm gonna start with something a little different. Thousands of people go missing every year, but as sad as that is, most of those cases have perfectly logical explanations, like foreplay. I'm about to say foreplay. Wrong word to use. Okay, I'm sorry. Like foul play. You can tell my mind's in the gutter right now, so don't pay me no mind. Accidents or people just starting over after realizing they'll never pay back their payday loans. But then there are those disappearances that don't make a lick of sense. The kind where the pieces of the puzzle only seem to form a giant middle finger aimed straight at your own sense of skepticism. Like in the case of, like I said before, the Sodder Children. Okay, hold on. Let me give you 1 second here. I want to try and blow up the photo of these children. These are black and white photos, so they might be a little hard to see. But they got some more photos towards the bottom. But these right here are the Sodder Children. Okay, looks like 3 girls and 3 boys. That's a big family. So they had a total of 6 kids. Okay, let's see what we got here. All right, where did I leave off at? Oh yeah, on Christmas Eve in 1945, the Sodder family was asleep in their Fayetteville, West Virginia home when a fire erupted, trapping 5 of the 10 Sodder kids. Oh, there was 10. Okay, there was a lot more than what I saw. Okay, yeah, I forgot about that. But anyway, trapping 5 of the 10 Sodder kids upstairs and sadly taking their lives before the firefighters could arrive. At least that's what the fire chief said had happened, despite no bodies or bones being discovered from the rubble. This prompted George and Jenny Sodder to declare that their children could still be alive, and oh God, we're crying now. Is there anything more heart-wrenching than the reality clouding grief of parents who'd lost their children? Okay, now this is an even better photo of the children right here. Let me try to. Oops. Okay, wait a minute. Oh boy. Oh yeah, that's not gonna work. Okay, yeah, I won't be able to blow that up. But anyway, this right here, these are the children. These are the 5 that actually supposedly died in the fire. Let me get a little closer so it'll cover the whole page here. All right, that's them. Okay, now there's another one at the end of one of the boys it was a photo that somehow was mailed to them, and it was a grown-up version of one of their sons, and he looked like the one that's on the far right. This one right here, it actually did look like him a lot, just a grown-up version of him. Probably maybe 17 or 20, 21 maybe. Okay, yes, the lack of bones was weird, but that must have had a rational explanation. Likewise, there must have been a rational explanation for the fact that when George Sodder tried to drive the truck near the truck near the house in hopes of climbing on top of it to reach the flaming second floor. The engine wouldn't start, and as for the family, being unable to call the fire department in time because their telephone lines were apparently cut. That it's the way it's written. Okay, it gets weirder though. Okay, in light of all the bizarre circumstances of the tragedy, the Sodder family remembered that sometime before the fire, they were visited by two strangers, making not very veiled threats about their house burning down and their kids dying. Let's see, one of the men who posed as an insurance salesman even said to George, an Italian immigrant, sorry about that, guys, that he paid for the offensive comments he was making about Mussolini all around town. Definitely suspicious, but not nearly as much as that same insurance man later serving on the coroner's jury that deemed the Sodder fire an accident. Okay, that's not right. Okay, it's the finding of this inquest that the fire was accidental. However, Mr. Sodder is found guilty of needing to keep his goddamn mouth shut. Okay, and that sounds like a personal problem to me. I don't deal with personal problems. Okay, let's see. Okay, others soon came forward saying they saw a man outside the Sodder house carrying a block and tackle, which could hypothetically have been used to temporarily disable a car. Also, the Sodders later found a weird rubber object in their yard, which George claimed was actually a napalm bomb, which could hypothetically have been used as a napalm bomb. Okay, it's definitely getting weird. But wait, aren't we just listing evidence seeming to point to the gruesome murder of 5 innocent kids by Italian fascists? Maybe not. A waitress at a roadside diner and a woman at a Charleston hotel later claimed that they saw 4 of the 5 missing kids. That could only mean that 5th kid was probably murdered. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they was making too much noise and probably tried to get away a couple times. Maybe yell out saying, "Please help me! I'm being kidnapped," or whatever. Which is what they're supposed to do. You know, that alarms people to let them know that something is happening. Okay, where was I? Oh, here we go. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me go back to the very beginning. Okay, a waitress at a roadside diner and a woman at a Charleston hotel later claimed that they saw 4 of the 5 missing kids with a group of Italian-looking men and women who wouldn't let them speak to anyone. Sadly, their tips didn't lead anywhere, nor did the photograph of Jenny Sodder received in the mail 20 years later that supposedly showed one of her now grown missing sons. And this right here is him right here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my photo album because I actually took a picture of both photos of the young boy and the young version of him and the older version of him. And I want you to tell me what you think. Now this is him right here as a young boy. He was probably maybe 12, 13. He looked like he could have been like maybe 15 at the most. Now this is him again. Now tell me, does that look like him as a grown young man? Because they kind of got the same eyebrows. Well, no, they're not as thick. You know, his is real thick, but he still look like each other though. Now there was the other photo of that little boy. where you saw where he was in the photo on the photo. There was another little boy in that photo. It might have been this little boy right here. Give me 1 second. Okay. It might be him because he's got the same type of eyebrows, real thick. So that might be him as a grown man, maybe. I mean, when I think about it, the eyebrows kind of gave it away, so they could have been him. You know, because his eyebrows weren't as thick as the other one. His was pretty much the same size. So, and then when I think about it, it does look more like him, though. You know, grown up. So it could be him. I don't know. Maybe it is. Okay. Distinguishable by his continued refusal to smile while having his picture taken, because he didn't smile in the other photo either. Well, none of them smiled. So okay, I think back in the day, I noticed that a lot of black and white photos from back in the day, nobody smiled. You know, they always looked so serious. Not one person smiled. The family never smiled. I guess that was a show of distinguishableness. You know, most people they're defined and refined or very distinguished. So they distinguished when it comes to taking photos or doing the portraits. So they, for some reason, don't smile in any of them photos. And I've noticed that about a lot of black and white photos of actual people from the past, especially around the colonial days or the the cowboy days. Those photos, they never smiled in them for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why that was never really a thing with people back in those days. But you know, it is what it is. But anyway, back to the story. So what was it? A kidnapping with no ransom demands or anything. Was the fire unrelated to the threats? Were the children's remains in the rubble of the house impossible to find among the rest of the debris? Is there some other much weirder story that the Sodder family simply refused to share with the police? All we know is that every possibility is disturbing as shit. Yeah, and trust me, it definitely was. You know, because something like that back in those days, it was very easy to do a lot of mysterious things, because when it comes to evidence that they could put together, they don't have the same technology that we have today. They didn't have it back then. So everything was done by sleuthing, like, you know, straight up Sherlock Holmes type deal. They go out there, they search for evidence and clues, and that's how they're able to determine what happened. Nowadays we have DNA technology, all kinds of stuff, you know, and all it takes is a tiny little fragment of bone or a strand of hair or even a piece of skin that may have been on your body, like maybe some dry skin, like what I got on my face. Okay, but yeah, that was a real crazy, creepy story. Now, see, now that one is for my number one fan, Kim Star 66, because she said that was a pretty creepy story, and she's actually heard about it, and that was my first time hearing about it too. Now I got a couple more weird stories that's coming soon, so stay tuned. But anyway, on to the next story. This one is about a young black man named Jelani Brinson, which I do have a photo of, because I did do some digging on him in the past. I just have to go to the social media page where I have his photo, which will be, you know, just a very good photo too. Okay, can we find it? Okay, I actually don't have it on this particular one. Okay, let's see what we got here. Maybe it's on my Facebook page. I think I have it on my other Facebook page, which I'm going to tell you about that too, because I got a lot of other. I got like at least 2 pages on each form of social media. Okay, it's here. Because my second page is called Mysterious Disappearances on Facebook, so I should have it on there. Let's see, photos. Here we go. Now this right here, this is Jelani Brinson right here. This is him. Young black man, very refined, I think he had an Asian girlfriend and a baby on the way. So he left behind a girlfriend or a wife and an unborn child. So this is him. I think he was like in his 20, he was 24 years old. Okay, now, I'll get right to the story. Okay, Jelani Brinson, he went missing on 04/17/09 at 10:30 p.m. in Anoka, Minnesota. I'm sorry, Mississippi. No, wait a minute. Yeah, Minneapolis. I'm sorry, Minneapolis. In Anoka, Minneapolis. He was 24 years old when he disappeared. The location of this disappearance is a small town at the confluence of the Mississippi and Run Rivers, Anoka, Minnesota. It sits just northwest of Minneapolis and northwest of Blaine. Kind of makes me think of David Blaine when I think about that. His name is spelled the same way. But anyway, many of the disappearances in this book involve an athletic and smart man. This case is no different. Jelani Brinson was an honorable mention All-American Division II soccer player. While he was attending Faith Baptist Bible College in Iowa, he had previously attended Baptist Christian School. Attended Baptist Christian School. Okay, the Christian faith was a center point of his life. He rarely used alcohol and never used drugs. He was a good person who had worked for several years at Sprint stores, Sprint stores in the area. He had plans to attend a seminary and become a minister, and had a young daughter with a girlfriend. Oh, so the daughter was already born. I'm sorry. I think he did have another one on the way though. So he was about to have 2 children, or his girlfriend was. On April 17th, 2009, Jelani started his night at the home of his dad, who was babysitting his daughter. Jelani's mother, who was an emergency room physician at Abbott Northwestern Hospital in Minneapolis, did not live with his father. Oh, so they were divorced. Too bad. Okay, at approximately 7:30 p.m., he went to Mad Jack Sports Cafe to meet friends. He called his mom while he was there. She didn't answer. Well, I mean, she did work at a hospital, and she was a physician, so obviously she had a lot going on. And with doctor's offices, whether it's in a clinic or whatever, you are busy like crazy. That's why a lot of them always carry beepers, you know. So, well, that was back in 80s and 90s. Now we got cell phones, but you know, she was obviously too busy to talk to him. You know, and like I said, she worked at a hospital, so that's understandable. You know, but I would think even if you at work, if my son is calling me, I'm gonna answer the phone. You know, but you know, a lot of times you got to go by the rules, and if the rules, and see, with hospitals, you can't be on your phone because it may mess with the equipment inside the or interfere with the equipment inside the hospitals. Because every time I went in there, like when my mom had her stroke, I couldn't use my phone either in certain areas. You know, they did, and I don't think they told me, even though I already knew, but I think they have signs up that says please turn off your cell phones in fear of them interfering with the equipment or whatever the case may be, especially if they got somebody on a dialysis machine or a heart monitor machine, you know. So, you know, like I said, it's totally understandable. All right, let me see. Okay, he called his mom while he was there. She didn't answer. She later stated that she was also at this establishment and didn't know he was there. Oh, okay. So she was at the sports bar too. I forgot about that part. So she was at the sports bar at the same time he was, but it was obviously so crowded. She may have been on one side of the room and he was on the other, and they probably missed each other in the process. And to me, that kind of plays the part in how people seem to be in the same area, but they always, for some reason, miss each other. Every single time. Like, you still gonna see that person, but if it's crowded, I can understand it. Like being in a club. You ain't gonna find nobody in there unless you just call each other or text each other and say exactly where you are, and then you come to them. But obviously that didn't happen there. Okay. She was also at the establishment and didn't know he was there and never heard her phone ring. Yeah, in a place like that, it was probably real loud with music playing and bumping it, blasting in the club. Everybody talking and having fun and just laughing and I've been to clubs, so I know it gets pretty loud, even at a place like a sports bar. And it was probably game night too, so there's gonna be a lot of guys there. Okay, a strange coincidence, and it was definitely strange. Okie dokie. At around 10 p.m., Jelani went to a home in Anoka, rented by one of his co-workers at Sprint. News sources stated that some in the home were smoking marijuana. Just 5 minutes after arriving, Jelani told someone he was going outside to smoke a cigarette. This was the last time he was seen alive. It gets creepier. Just 5 minutes after leaving, friends went outside to look for him. They searched adjacent yards and found nothing. There was one last call made from Jelani's cell phone at 11 p.m. It was never disclosed who this was made to, and the location of the call could have been anywhere in the 10-mile radius based on the cell tower location. On April 18th, 2009, at 2 a.m., Jelani's family reported him as a missing person. On April 19th, the search started with 50 to 60 professionals and volunteers scouring the area around the friend's rental home on Kennedy Street. One searcher found Jelani's hat and shoe near the fence across the street from the friend's residence. Okay, see, now that's another thing about with these cases and how similar they all can be, where they'll find parts of their clothing just strewn about. With him, they found his hat and his shoes, and then as they go even further with the search, they start finding other clothing and other part, the other shoe or whatever the case may be. So it's like, how is it that and this is April. April is really not that cold. Oh, excuse me. It's really not that cold. No, that's like spring of the year, right? So how could you be stripping your clothes? It's not really that hot at all. So you would think you keep your clothes on, including your shoes if you're going to be doing a lot of walking. Now, I know there's a lot of people I've seen that walk barefooted to a lot of areas. I've seen people get in the car and they go to a place and they just straight up barefoot, and especially if you live in the country. Some people have thick feet, where the sole of their foot is like, the bottom of their foot is like real thick, so they can walk on rocks and some of everything else. But not everybody can do that. Like me, I got flat feet, and I don't have that much meat on the bottom of my feet, so if I'm stepping on rocks, I feel like I'm being stabbed. So, I don't know what condition his feet was in. He may have had thick feet. He may have had thin feet. So I don't know. But anyway, back to the story. Okay, one searcher found Jelani's hat and shoe near the fence across the street from the friend's residence. Jelani's mom commented that the hat fit snug on his head and would not have fallen off easily. And she was saying like it was like one of those fitted hats, so you had to really tug at it in order to pull it off. And I guess it could have been because of his afro. He probably some guys like to sport an afro, whether it be like a little messy or whatever the case may be. Hold on, guys, this is my mother calling. It's 1 o'clock. Hey, mama.
Hey, son, you still over?
Yeah, I just got to finish this this video for my channel, and I'll be over there.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. That was my mom, everybody. Yeah, her birthday was on February 21st. I took her to see Hidden Figures. I suggest you go see that movie. That's a really good movie about it's basically detailed on black women who were not noticed in the NASA program, and especially three specific women who changed the world when it came to NASA, because they were one of the first three to make sure that our boys got into space. So watch. It's a very good, powerful movie. We're talking about a woman who could. Oh, I'm not gonna say anything, because if you go see it, I don't want to spoil it for you, because I am not one of them kind of people. Okay. Back to the story. Okay, let's see. The pond. Make sure I'm back at the right spot here. Okay. Oh yeah, his second shoe was found among steel pipes in a storage yard in the area. Cadaver dogs were brought into the area and could not get a scent hit. Another strange one. Okay, which is very common, of course. Bloodhounds were also brought into the area, and none of them went anywhere near the golf course across from the residence. So that would mean that they sensed something very ominous about that one area. They didn't want to go near it. There was probably some type of evil presence over there, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Stop losing my place here. Okay, yeah. 500 feet from Jelani's friend's home on Kennedy Street was the Greenhaven Golf Course. On April 25th, 2009, at 1 p.m., an employee of the course thought he saw something unusual in the pond. The depth of the water in the pond was only 2 to 3 feet. It was Jelani's body. He was found face up, which is very common in a lot of these cases. The men are always found. I think the men are found face down. The women are found face up. So that's another turning point in this case. Okay. Okay. An unusual finding for a male. Like I said. Okay. He had no obvious injuries, and his body was still in rigor. As a reminder, rigidity. Okay, I wish I get this right. He was talking about rigidness, but the way he wrote it is rigidity. Okay, rigidity. Rigidity starts 6 to 12 hours after death, and typically starts to go away after 20 hours, and is normally completely gone in 36 hours. Jelani had been missing for 8 days. Red flags were starting to go up. Red flags were a full mast when it was revealed that Jelani was wearing socks that were completely clean. Okay, meaning he didn't walk into the water across the grass and dirt. A May 2nd there's a typo here. It says 10/12. It's supposed to say 2012. 2012 article. Excuse me, on the Care 2, spelled Kare, website stated this about the body. Even more confusing, Jelani was found without shoes on but clean socks. Police say his body was somehow placed in the pond. It's one of the most odd, frustrating cases I've seen in my 27 years, said Commander Paul Sommer with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office. there was, there hasn't been new information for a long time. The medical examiner wasn't able to find an exact cause of death, and therefore authorities can't even technically call this case a murder. You can call it a murder. It just depends on how he was murdered, and the way he was murdered didn't leave any evidence whatsoever. So he was definitely murdered. If he's dead by some other means that can't be explained, it's still murder. So obviously something or someone caused it. If it was caused, technically it is a murder, not a suicide and not an accidental death. Okay, there was no sign of accidental death. That means there was no water in the lungs. He was just dead in the water, face up. So somebody, I won't say somebody, but something killed him. Whether it was some type of creature who was able to kill people without touching them, or somebody who had the technology to take a person's life without touching them. Okay, that's all I can really say about that. And that seems to be the case here, but nobody wants to say that. Nobody but me, anyway. So that's what I'm here for. That's what I do. I say what everybody else don't want to say because it's too weird for them and they're too scared to say it. Not me, because it's the truth. Anyway, okay. Let's see. Make sure I get back to where I was. There has been no information. Okay, the medical examiner wasn't able to find an exact cause of death, and therefore authorities can't even technically call this case a murder. It's refreshing to hear law enforcement state the obvious and not do anything to try to avoid it. The medical examiner stated that Jelani didn't drown, and there were no signs of violence. He did not have any alcohol or marijuana in his system, according to the bookcase studies in drowning forensics by Kevin Gannon and D. Lee Gilbertson. The toxicology report did find something of great concern, page 183. They state that GHB, normally called a date rape drug, because it renders someone incapacitated, was found in his system in very high levels. The drug allows you to know what is happening, but can leave you unable to react. Okay, now see, that sounds a lot about what happened to one of the guys in this movie. Law-abiding citizen. In that movie, the guy that murdered the main character in the movie, he murdered his family. Well, he raped and killed his daughter in the next room. He tracks him down and he shoots this drug. Like it's not really a drug, it's a toxin that's inside of a pufferfish that does pretty much the same thing that GHB does, which probably is what GHB is. It's probably a toxin that comes from a pufferfish, which renders you incapacitated. You can see what's going on, but you can't feel anything. And it says here, it renders someone incapacitated. Let me see. The drug allows you to know what's happening, but leaves you unable to react. Yeah, then the same thing happened with him. He knew what was going on, but he couldn't react. But yet, at the same time, all of his nerves and his muscles were still active. So if someone is torturing you, you can feel it, but you just can't move. You know, so I think that might be what GHB is, or a portion of it is probably a toxin that comes from a pufferfish, which is very crazy. It kind of also reminds me of that fish that which is a delicacy in certain parts of Asia, where there is a certain part of the fish that has a toxin that will literally kill you within minutes, but you have to know exactly where to cut that fish. If you cut it a couple of inches to the right or a couple of inches to the left, you may cut right into that portion or that sac that has this toxin that will kill you. You know, and people find that a thrill. I don't know why, because if a person don't know where that stuff is in the fish, and you cut the wrong part, you're gonna actually die from this. But yet they find that one hell of a thrill, and they love that fish. But anyway, okay. Let's see here. Make sure I get back on track here. I think I'm on the wrong page here. Okay, I gotta get back on track because I keep losing my place. Let me see. Medical examiners. Oh yeah, GHB. Here we go. I got it. Okay. Okay, the body normally produces very high levels of GHB in amounts of 0.52 I guess that mcg milligrams. I'm not sure what that means, so I'm not getting in that area. Okay, the amount of the drug found in the body was 22 mcg milligrams. Another lab test showed 35.1 mcg milligrams. Gannon and Gilbertson commented that at those levels, someone would be easy to control and abduct. The autopsy concluded that Jelani had been dead about 36 to 48 hours. It also concluded that based on lividity, he had been face down for some period of time on land before being placed in the water, as there was lividity present on the frontal portion of the body. Yet he was lying on his back when found. Okay, so he was on his front. He was face down at first, and then that's when the lividity set in. Then they placed him on his back in the water. Okay, that's just weird. You know, you do all this extra stuff to confuse people, and it's not a matter you can't figure it out. It's just you can see what's going on, but it's just too weird to even try to fathom, because who would do something like that? A career criminal or like a serial murderer is not gonna do that. They're just gonna kill him, chop him up, and dispose of the body. You know, they'll probably, stash the body parts all over the country. Who knows? But they wouldn't be that thorough when it comes to killing somebody with little stuff like that, like, turning the body over after it's been face down for like 40 hours and then turn it over and put it in the water. That's just weird, man. But I know somebody or something did it. That's the whole point. It's just a matter of knowing what did it, and we don't know that. So that's why everything is always so weird to other people, and they don't want to talk about it. Okay, commented this. Okay, yeah. The autopsy concluded that Jelani had been dead about 36 to 48 hours. It also concluded that based on the lividity, he had been face down for some period of time on land before being placed in the water, as there was lividity present on the frontal portion of the body. Yet he was lying on his back when found. Okay, there is absolutely no doubt in anyone's mind that Jelani Brinson did not die the night he disappeared. He was alive for at least 5 days after he went missing. He did not die from drowning, yet the medical examiner cannot specify exactly why he died. Gannon and Gilbertson go into finite detail in their book about additional issues concerning his death that confirm what I've stated. As you finish reading this chapter, you are going to quickly realize that the majority of law enforcement doesn't like talking about cases that don't fit the normal profile they've worked in the past. I commend the coroner in this case for telling the truth and being willing to specifically address it. Even law enforcement spoke directly to the confusing nature of the case. While alcohol wasn't an element in this incident, water, a rapid disappearance, the stripping of clothing or shoes, out of character behavior, a lack of scent detected by canines, an unusual location where the body was found, and general confusion on the part of authorities all play a role in these cases. I can only imagine the number of times that a medical examiner has sat in the isolation of their office after examining a body with a similar set of circumstances as Jelani's, and wondered how they were going to, position it for local authorities. These cases may these cases make communities uncomfortable. When law enforcement is confused and perplexed by an incident, the community gets concerned and, in some instances, demand answers. I believe that honestly is paramount for all levels of law enforcement and governmental representatives. Honesty and public disclosure in these cases is going to reveal much more evidence and insight than anyone could ever imagine. This book is opening the door to a new revelation. A public database of similar cases could assist medical examiners around the world and prove that this phenomena is real. Police did not find any tracks around the pond where the body was located. Jelani's socks were clean. There are only a few options to arrive in the pond. Jelani did not walk, run, or skip into the pond. Canines never went near the pond if Jelani's scent wasn't around the pond. How did he get in the pond? As many people have reminded me, the arcade game with the claw that grabs an object and travels across the machine to drop the item in a new location reminds them exactly of the scenarios described in this book. And I see his son made that same comment about how these cases are like the body is being, or the person is being subdued, picked up in some kind of way so that they won't leave tracks or scent, and they are carried somewhere for a certain amount of time. They're not being tortured, but at the same time, somehow they're being killed in a way that doesn't leave any evidence whatsoever. Okay, you only have your above the water evidence like lividity, ligature, from whatever the case may be. Sometimes you find that, but the major evidence is never found. Like the evidence that's shown saying that he was murdered by something, or by some means, like a weapon of some kind, whether it be a knife or a gun, and then they are carried to a certain place where they want them to be found, and they are placed there from above. Now, did they just drop him from the sky? I don't know, because I would think the body would be broken in half at that point, depending on how high he was. Okay, that he was just placed there. Now, also, he could have been in a situation where something has the ability to make someone dematerialize from one point, and they materialize in another place within seconds. But they are taken somewhere. They are released of their energy or their spiritual essence, or whatever the case may be. Somehow it's being taken away from them, or like I said, maybe somehow their brain is being removed from their body in a way of them in such a way where it's being phased out of their body. Maybe they're able to reach inside the skull, like they phase their hand through the skull, remove the brain in that manner, and not leaving any type of evidence. Because think about it, the body can't survive without the mind. Okay, and you have a body lying on the ground, lying in the water, and there's no sign of death whatsoever. Now with him, there was GHB in his system, so obviously somebody, or was able to subdue him. Obviously, they subdued him to where he could see what was going on, but he couldn't react to it. Meaning they could do anything they wanted to him, and he'd never be able to do anything. Now, they say when men are being found with their pants down in the woods or in the forest, or with no clothes or no pants at all, and they just have their shirt or just their underwear on, maybe it's some sort of female rapist who is able to do that to people, have sex with them, and then she kills them. I don't know, but that's one of the accounts too, because a lot of men that are being found in national forests are found up against a tree with their pants down, or the pants are there looking like they were being unbuckled and pulled down, so, and just like the Jared Etadero case, his sweatpants was found inside out. So obviously something pulled his pants off in that manner, where they grabbed the sweatpants by the rim and pulled it off of him, and he was probably trying to get away at one point, and it was being pulled off of his feet. And that's what keeps, that's what makes the pants turn inside out at that point, when it has to go past the feet, and the feet grabs onto it like this, and it's being pulled over and off the feet like that. So in this case, like I said, he was subdued in a way that, okay, they find GHB in the system, but it doesn't show how it was put in his system. Now, if it traveled down his throat, there would be residue of the GHB in his throat. I don't know if they looked at that part, but like I said, that's anybody's guess at this point. So all I know is that's what happened. He disappeared from one spot, leaving no footprints whatsoever, and he dematerialized and was placed somewhere else, like days later. Okay, so like I said, he was, like you said in the book, he was alive at one point, and then he was killed in some way. Okay, yeah, there's GHB in the system, but the GHB didn't kill him. Whatever they used to kill this young man, is what killed him. And how they did that, I don't know. Now, did they check the brain? I don't know that. They never mentioned that in the autopsy report. They didn't mention that even, for him to say this in the book. But I'm thinking somehow the brain was removed without them having to crack open the skull. So they probably somehow had a device or an ability to reach inside someone, phase their hand through the brain, through the skull, grab the brain, and pull it out. And at that point, he just dies right then and there. He was probably subdued at that point, so he couldn't move, and they were able to take the brain out without doing it, without opening the skull. That's the only thing I can think of, because if you can just die without any reason at all, there has to be something, and that's the most out of the way thought that I could think of. They had to remove the brain at some point to say, just for him to die, for any other reason other than them trying to stab him with a weapon or anything. But yeah, that's my take on that story. And I want to thank you guys once again for getting me at 102 subscribers. And I want to keep it coming. I want you guys to keep doing what you're doing. Bring in more people who like to hear this kind of stuff. Get them to like and subscribe to my channel. And, just keep it coming. Because right after getting to 100, now I want to get to 500. Okay, so I'm asking you guys once more to help me get to 500 subscribers. Tell all your friends, tell your family members who like to listen to this stuff. Tell all the people who has an open mind. If they want to come to his channel and listen to some of the craziest stories out there, come to Insane Disappearances. Get me at 500. That's my next goal. Okay, so I'm gonna need you guys' help with that. All right, you, my fans, especially you, Kim Star 66. I know you can help me out. Tell your friends again. If you got even more friends other than the ones that you already talked to, let them know too that I got a great, channel to listen to. Okay, I know what to do. So, ready, set, go. Get me at 500 subscribers, and I'm gonna be working on that myself, of course. So, I guess I want to thank you guys again for joining me here on Insane Disappearances, my channel. And believe you me, there will be more. And the cases, I want to make sure the cases get even more stranger. Believe you me, I'm gonna try to find the weirdest disappearance cases on the net. So once again, like I always say in the end, aloha, mahalo, and hui ho. Appreciate it, guys. I love you guys so much. All right, bye.